Welcome in today. Good morning, my friends. Hope you will go ahead and grab some coffee. I have actually a cup of tea for mine today. I'm having some organic honey ginger tea. It's really good. But anyway, grab whatever you're having this morning, and hopefully you'll join me for a few quiet minutes, and we can see where today's energies are. I'm so happy and grateful for each and every one of you that have chose to be here this morning and spend some calm and quiet time together. So my name is Libby, and I am a former therapist counselor. I'm retired, but I am now working as a health and wellness coach with a little bit of a spiritual vibe. But thank you for being here. I want to talk to you today and every day about wellness, but not necessarily like a wellness tip. More like positive energy and intuition, and using those things, bringing it back down to the 3D, the practical ways that we can bring more peace to our life, more vitality, more balance. Like I said, just in our everyday living, that most of the time is just better than therapy. It's really where we gain most of our results is through the routines that we maintain each day. So one of the questions that I ask myself every day as I try to stay in alignment, is how can I nourish my body, mind, and spirit on a daily basis, so that I'm trying to make the best choices that I can available to me, because it directly affects the quality of my life. So that requires a good bit of mental fortitude, a little bit of quiet time, and some general thought. So let's get right down to it. I don't always get everything right, even though I think about it, and I think about the way I want things to look in my life, the way I want my life to be, the way I want it to feel. But it does make my flow a little bit easier, and so I'm all about the flow and the routine, getting things as right as I possibly can in this human experience that we have. So this morning, when I was having my coffee, I spent a little time looking at today's Vedic astrology. I just happened to really enjoy learning about the overall energies of the day and where the planets are and the stars are in the sky, and how it affects me. But I was looking at today, and astrology really helps us to understand our atmosphere that we're working with for the day. It's like an emotional or energetic weather report, so to speak. So, I sat with this morning's energies, and one thing kept coming up to me, and that was the thing that I want to speak to you about today, and that is trusting in the next step. A lot of days begin and end with overwhelm, burnout, exhaustion, and that's unfortunate. Been there, done that on a regular basis as well. Anytime you work in the real world, you're out there in the 3D with people doing your thing, being productive. It's hard to avoid it. And so today's topic is trusting the next step, just the next step. You can't wait to the day thinking about the entire plan, though sometimes you kind of have to do that, but just the next step. That's today's energy. It feels less like a day for forcing things and more like a day for listening to yourself, listening to others around you, noticing, that art of noticing, paying attention, trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, trusting your path, trusting what you want for the quality of your life. And then just taking that small step forward, and you can take many small steps. As I've talked about before, that 1 degree of change sometimes is what it takes. So what I'm going to do, because that's kind of broad and kind of out there in space somewhere, bringing it back down to earth, back down to the 3D, because you're saying, yeah, this is great, Libby. I have to go to work today, and I've got about 50 things on my desk and people knocking on my door. So what I'd like to do is share some simple ways, and I just narrowed them down to 5 so that you can work with the energy of today and what it is that you might want to do next. Okay, the one thing that might just be the next step towards your overall goal. Okay, your daily goal, your future goal, yourself, working on your best, highest self. So number 1 is this was my daily strategy, especially when I had so much to do. My desk was wrecked. Finish one thing that you've been avoiding. Finish one thing that you've been avoiding. And often it's not the big thing, it's just the one thing, and it might be the one thing you need to do for yourself. In other words, I have felt I've had this physical symptom, and I need to schedule an appointment to get my blood work done. And I've been putting me off because I'm taking care of, and obviously I don't have children at home anymore. I'm old. But if you have children, you put them first. You put your spouse first. You put your home first, and the care and love into others before you do yourself. But take care of that one thing that you've been avoiding. So, a lot of times that's not exciting. I mean, it is just not exciting at all. But when you complete something, it really gives you, it clears up some space for you mentally. And, you then the guilt doesn't creep in that you haven't been taking care of business, So send the email, write the thank you note that, to your mother-in-law. Return the phone call, the one that is necessary, the one that maybe you don't want to make so much. Put that as your first priority. Schedule the appointment, whatever that appointment is. It doesn't have to be a doctor's appointment. Put away your laundry. Pay the bill. It's about to be overdue. Just get up and pay it. One small completion also helps you not just gain, clarity and confidence, but it gives you that surprising momentum. Surprising momentum. And surprising momentum feels really nice. So, just one small completion. What's the one thing you can finish today? So just give that a little bit of thought as you're coming to your calm, sort of centered place. What is the one thing? And it does not necessarily need to be big. Like I said, it could be scheduling the appointment. It could be texting your best friend, hey, I've been meaning to contact you for a month. Let's go out. One thing. And it can be related to productivity, but it can also just be related, to your personal life, something that you personally enjoy. One thing you can complete. Step number 2 is, movement is important. Movement is healthy. It brings a lot of clarity. When you get up and you move, it also builds momentum. I hate to sound repetitive, but it kind of does. It gives you that, that drive, a little bit of external motivation, and a little bit of jolt of energy. But take a walk without your phone. Go on a walk, it doesn't have to be far, without your phone. You know, leave your phone at home. Don't even put it in your pocket in case your kids need you. Leave your phone behind. As you do that, notice the trees. You know, they often change with the seasons and they're beautiful. Listen to the birds. Before we had all this Zen music and this frequency, this 528 hertz frequency that's supposed to calm us, you know, we had the birds. And believe it or not, they serve the same purpose, the same function as does some of these other calming apps that we spend actually money for. I've actually spent money on that. I can't believe it. But leave your phone behind. Notice the trees. Notice the birds. Pay attention to your thoughts. Now, don't overthink things. Don't think of a situation that you're replaying in your head from The Office and that girl that can't stand you and how yesterday played out. Not that. Not that. The point is to calm. You're walking without your phone. You're centering yourself. You're sort of listening to the birds, noticing things, paying attention to what pops into your mind, heart, and spirit. What's on your mind? What are you thinking about? Then, you know, notice what your mind keeps returning to, because that might be where you're ruminating or overthinking things. So if your mind keeps returning to something negative, return it to, you know, send some love towards it. As one gentleman one time told me, if your enemies want to be your enemies, and they really mean they want to be your enemies today, you know, you can't change that. Shoot them in the back with love. I thought that was great. Anyway, sometimes clarity really does arrive when you stop trying so hard. I apologize there. The blowers going on out there. Talk about leaving your phone at home. Also walk away where there's no blower. We'll let them get down the hallway here. Okay. The third thing I'd say is, whatever that next step is, that next step for you as a person, as a human, write it down. Get yourself a spot. You don't have to have some fancy journal. You know, you can have a sticky note. You can have a little piece of, you know, PTO night letter. Turn it over. Rip a little piece off of it. Write it down. Not your entire plan, but just what next step do I need to take towards my highest self? Or if you said, you know, I need to schedule that blood work, or I need to go for a walk. I've promised myself I'm going to go for a walk in nature. Write it down. You're not going to write down your goals for the year. My to-do list was always so long, and then I would like add what I just did to it and cross it out. Isn't that insane? Yeah, you can make it as long as you want to and create your own overwhelm in the name of telling yourself you're being organized. So that's it's a little counterproductive, but write it down. Just the next step. What is the next thing I need to do? Take out that piece of paper, ask yourself that question, and write down your first answer. Trust that first answer. Do not edit it. Do not negotiate with it, meaning, well, the kids have dance, and so I really need to do that first. Just write it down, okay? What's my next step? Write it down. This will reduce your overwhelm, and now, boom, I've got one next step, okay? Now, number 4, this tea is so good. create one moment of order. One moment of order. So today for me, well, I created 2 moments of order at home. Now yours, you might do at the office or do at home or do both. I like to make the bed. When I make the bed, it creates some order visually for me. It almost tidies up the whole room just when I make the bed. Of course, we are in a studio apartment for now, so of course it does. But it is nice, even when you're not in a studio apartment. You know, it's nice to come home and pull the covers back and everything's kind of settled for you. The second small moment of order I did today was I cleaned the shower. And then when I got in it, it was nice. So what I'm saying is, none of this has to be profound. It can be profound in its simplicity, but when you create just a little bit of order, when you organize that chaos, it brings such inner calm just to do a few things, or one small moment or movement towards order. So this does not say a major project. One small thing is I'm going to learn to make my own soap. How about that's a project? That's a big. No, this is one small moment. Making the bed, clearing the countertop, organizing a drawer, watering the plant that's looking kind of shabby over there. Put some fresh flowers in a vase if that's your thing. Prepare something for yourself the night before. Prepare your kitchen, prepare your coffee, pick out your clothes. Any little thing will bring you a lot of calm. So when you perform small acts of care for yourself, it reminds you that you matter, your environment matters, and it's part of that self-love. You really cannot love anyone else until you learn to love yourself, which includes your environment. Your environment is very important. And last but not least, because I wanted to narrow these things only to 5 to match today's energy. So this is a powerful one. I talked about silence in my last video. The most powerful thing you can do is spend at least 10 minutes in silence. 10 minutes silence. No phone, no television, no podcast, no scrolling, no distractions. Just 10 quiet minutes. Sit with your coffee, sit with your flavored water, look out the window, whatever brings you peace. Sit in your swing. At one point in my life, that was at my house. I had a great, big tree in my backyard. It was our first little house. I don't know how we all squeezed in there, but we had a little deck and a swing on the deck, and we had potted plants out there and the big tree, and it was just a nice place to sit, to watch the sunrise or the sunset, or just to look at the flowers in bloom across the yard and listen, because the world is consistently and constantly speaking to you. Your intuition, your highest self, constantly speaking to you. And really, most of us don't pause long enough to even hear it, to even know that it exists. So pause. 10 minutes of silence. So I hope these 5 things will be helpful to you. I hope it's something that maybe you can incorporate into your routine. Just try one of them. You don't have to do all 5, because we spend our day, looking at our. I don't wear a smartwatch because I don't wear electronics on my body anymore at all, but a lot of people do, and I want to beat my steps. I want to have at least 15 more steps than I had yesterday, or on my fitness pal, I want to make sure I stay within my carb limit. I want to overthinking everything. The less complicated something is, the more likely you are to stick with it. It's just a fact. It's human nature. We as humans are not built for the 24/7 hustle. Our bodies, our minds, our spirits are unsettled by all of those things. Now, you might be saying, well, yeah, but this is the reality I live in, and I understand because I lived in it also. So, I do know that there are times you have to do things. There are things that we have to accomplish each day. I mean, it's just the reality of life. But make it as calm and relaxed, especially in your own environment, your own space, because that's how you serve the world, through your highest self, which is always nice. It's nice when you've done that for yourself. So before we move into today's affirmations, I mentioned affirmations in the last video. I think I'm going to incorporate those every day based on the energy of the day. So affirmations are a great, quick way to express gratitude and put out in the ether some really good, positive things. And we want to learn to expect positive things in our lives. We want to welcome positive things into our lives. We want to welcome positive energy into our lives. So we have to send it out so it can boomerang back to us. So before we begin with today's affirmation, I want to pause for a moment. Let's see what wisdom wants to join our conversation today. So I pulled a reflection card. As I sat down this morning, I wanted to find a card that matched today's energy and give a little perspective, a little encouragement to remind us of something that we probably already know. So the card that came out, let's see what today's card might be, inviting us to remember ourselves, love ourselves, focus on ourselves a little bit. The card that came out is the Hermit card. So the Hermit came out today. Notice he's got the lantern there. So let's see what today's reflection card might be inviting us to remember. So today's card is the Hermit. Notice he's carrying, the lantern. He's not carrying a spotlight. So a lantern doesn't necessarily illuminate the whole path ahead of us. It kind of illuminates, enough light to see what's right there, what's next. So to me, that really speaks to, today's energy, where we're talking about doing just what comes next. Not the next 15 steps, but what comes next. So today's energy, do what comes next. Like a lantern to a dark path. The Hermit has a lot of wisdom, a lot of quiet, reflective moments. Reflecting, stillness, going inward. When we think of a hermit in real life, that's kind of what we think about, trusting what's deep inside of ourselves, believing in ourselves enough to trust that. So it's not asking us to figure everything out, but just to kind of trust that light, Trust that light and where we're headed on our life's path, life's path. Because sometimes we don't know. We just know we need to do the next thing. And that, like I said, gives us some clarity when we're able to sit with ourselves, sit with our intuition, sit with our thoughts, and doing some of those things that we mentioned today will be helpful. Okay, now we're going to close with an affirmation for today. So this is the one I wrote for you. So take it as it resonates for you. Take a deep breath as you begin your day. If you'd like, you can read this out loud to yourself later or read it again. Read it as many times as is helpful to you. I trust what is unfolding. I do not need the entire map. I listen carefully. I move gently. I trust myself. I take the next right step. Life is working with me, not against me. I am supported. I am guided. Good things are finding their way to me. So spend some time today thinking about that. If you are not in a supportive relationship, you can support yourself. You can be gentle with yourself. You can listen to yourself. You can spend time with yourself. So, I hope this was helpful. I hope it resonated. I hope that you have a wonderful day. I really hope it's a beautiful day. So remember to drink your water, get a little sunshine, trust your intuition because it always provides and guides. And remember, wellness does not have to be complicated. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.